Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel on human design. Today we're going to go on a bit of an esoteric journey. I want to look at Ra's declaration that we have no choice. It's one of those things in human design where people get very upset and they go, oh, of course I've got choice. You know, I can do this and that and the other. Well, let's just look at this, shall we? Let's open up the can of worms to what we actually know. We have a personality crystal and we have a design crystal, and the two have come together in this life in an arranged marriage, if you want to look at it that way, where the experience of that personality crystal in that particular body will give rise to various experiences and various knowings and various self-reflective consciousness. Did you make that happen? You can say, yes, I did. At some level, I knew I was going to come here to be born to these parents, to live this kind of life in order to fulfill my mission in life. Really? I mean, the kind of clarity necessary to take in everything that is going on, personally, I don't believe it's within human consciousness's ability. Consider for a minute that there are 64 gates in the human design wheel. What if there were 128? What if we doubled the complexity? What kind of awareness, what kind of knowing could we have then? What if we reduced the number from 64 to 37? What would be left out? What would be the reason for doing that? Well, the truth is that according to the prophecy of human design, in the future, there will be another form in which we are inhabited. And it will have many, many less gates than we already have. And why? Well, what is this life? This is a life of consciousness in form. And according to Ra, the whole principle of life is about finding the perfected form for which consciousness can really be free, a kind of a holding mechanism from which consciousness can then spread out through all that is. Before I go on any further, I better just say, for those that don't know me, my name is Richard Beaumont. I've been doing human design for more than 25 years, 20 of those training professional analysts. So open it out and just think about that. Think about, your part in playing how many gates there are. Well, I don't think you really could imagine that, could you? There are certain things that we can see in the future that will come about, but they don't exist now. We are fundamentally a witness consciousness. And one of the biggest problems of being a witness is what Ra called the vanity of mankind. The vanity to imagine that we are in control, the vanity to imagine that we have choice over everything we do. We clearly don't. Half of your design is unconscious. You don't even know, if you've got an unconscious gate in the throat, you don't even know you're going to be speaking something until you're actually doing it. And think about what your design is and what don't you have. This affects the way that you are. This affects the way that you live your life. If people have no logical gates in them, and I have met some, they have no idea of consequences because they don't think that way. They don't work that way. It's not about consequences for them. It's something different according to their own design. Some people go, well, what were they thinking? Well, maybe they weren't thinking. Maybe they don't have the channels in order to think in a particular way that you think they should be thinking about. We're all different. We're here to learn from each other. And we're here to have a unique experience of what it is to be this consciousness in this life. And it's amazing. And it's never happened before. And if you want to look for a reason, I would say, well, that is the reason. that you have a chance to live a unique life in this life, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know how it's going to turn out. And yet there you are, in the middle of your life, living it all the same. We know that the life has a certain length of time on this plane. But was it always the similar length? If you're looking back in history, there are many people, the majority will say that, well, we live very short lives, you know. We died early because it was all unhealthy out there. I mean, that's a joke in itself. With all the EMFs around, with all the electromagnetic frequencies in the air, we don't live in a particularly healthy environment ourselves. And there are historical records showing that people used to live a lot longer, hundreds and even thousands of years back in the day. So all these things have to be considered when you say, I have choice. What happened before? What's going to happen in the future? There are different indications from both those sides that you may be completely unaware of. What it is to be a human being, to really be a human being. There are certain things that I've looked at in terms of exceptional people, or people with exceptional abilities, and what they can do. And I have pondered upon how they can do what they can do in the way that other people don't seem to be able to. And yes, there are links, and that's one of my research projects. But for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, how can you possibly tell me that you have choice over everything that you do when there are these anomalies, when there is this lack of knowledge in both the past and the future? Now, I'm very hopeful, 1-3. You know, 1-3s are supposed to be pessimistic in the Not-Self. Well, I'm not. I got 7-6 lines, and I'm actually very optimistic about the way things are going. I know we're all going through a difficult time at the moment. And I know there's lots of us going, well, you know, I'd like it to be something different. And why are they doing this? And why are they doing that? And can't we do this? And can't we do that? That's part of our reality at this moment. So if you blot all that out and go, I have choice over everything that happens, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work. What works, in my view, and what works in my experience, is that if you come from yourself, if you make the correct decisions, then there is a frequency that surrounds you, where you get to live your own life, but where things can happen that would not normally have happened, because you wouldn't have been in that place, or you wouldn't have met that person, or you wouldn't have taken that decision to do this or to do that. A decision at a time. A witness consciousness making a correct decision will have their life unfold in front of them in the way that it suits them, for them to fully experience that. An incorrect decision made in the moment will lead to a lot of resistance. It will lead to unnecessary hassle for the person, for the witness. And part of the job of human design is to get us to make the correct decisions so that we can actually live the life that we fully can and be ourselves in it. So my view to those people that say we have a choice, one, I could say, well, go on and prove it. And the other one, I would say, look, it's just not possible. And it's not important in that respect, from my point of view. From my point of view, what's important is a surrender to the nature that you have, to be able to make the correct decisions according to who you are. That is it. And from that comes the life, and from that comes a unique life. And from that comes things that have never been said before and things that have never been done before. I was recently listening to Elon Musk saying, what if we're in a simulation? Would we know? And he took as an example the early video games of playing ping pong and how it has now advanced into very realistic backgrounds and characters, and how given enough time he could imagine it could be almost indistinguishable from life that we know now. And when you think about it, human design, we talk about the program in human design. We talk about this ancient program, this ancient wheel, this movement, because it's not just us as individuals, it's us being affected by the transits. There is a wheel that is moving. You can see it in the daily transits. That's why I give you the daily transits as a free service, so you can begin to track it and going, wait a minute, that really is happening. How is that possible? How did Richard know? Well, I looked at the bloody wheel. So there is a program we are already in. There is a definition or a set of definitions that we are in this form and also in this consciousness. We didn't just make that up. It's something that we can see. It is something that we can live. But it's not through choice. It's through decision making, which is nothing to do with the mind. The mind can think of many, many things, but it's through the body that the life is played out. When the body dies, this life is over. That's not to say that there isn't a consciousness that will exist afterwards. But when you're in the body, you play by the body's rules. That's my advice. And you'll see all kinds of synchronicities and all kinds of amazing wonders if you just relax into your strategy and authority, because that's what brings the life to you. And then you won't be thinking about choice, and you won't be thinking about your mission on this life. You'll be already in it, and you'll be grateful for it. And such questions won't arise. They will be obvious. Sometimes I think about the other life forms and the fact in plants and in animals and in reptiles and in birds, there is no self-reflective consciousness. There is just the now, to survive in the now, to be in the now. And yet human beings have this luxury to be able to imagine things and think of things that could be, that are not yet. And that conceptual framework leads us in error to think that we are all powerful in being able to affect what happens here. In my view, it happens through the frequency at which you're operating. And as a human being, we can operate on multiple different levels. But we start with where we are, and we start with the form that we've got, and we start with the strategy and authority that we've been guided to experiment with, to see this life as an experiment in itself, to add to the totality our unique experience of being here. To me, that's the highest one can be, to be part of fulfilling the totality with our own unique presence. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you again very soon with something completely different. Bye for now.